Let's do another episode here of Goz On The Go. All the sports talk you need, we jam it into 40 minutes while you're driving to work, hanging out, working out, everything you need from the sports week right here, 40 minutes, Goz On The Go. Let's get into it. Before we do, you always know we got to give love to our sponsors. Let's give love to Mohawk Honda. Inventory, selection, and things you're looking for, and people that you can trust when you're going through the car buying experience. It's the most important thing you can have. Wherever you are, Syracuse, Utica, Watertown, Geneva, Glens Falls, Lake George, we see you, we appreciate you, and we want to make sure you're making the drive out to Glenville, New York to take advantage of the deals going on at Mohawk Honda. The Kelly Blue Book offer is out there for you, where you show up to Mohawk Honda and you can drive off the lot with the vehicle that you want and money in your pocket. Say what's up to Greg Johnson, a wonderful guy doing great things in the community here in the Capital Region. Lindsay Harrington, we've known her for years. We appreciate all the great things she's done as a partner with us. My guy, Cam McKenna, when I have questions about my vehicle, I call him up. He'll always answer them for me. Also, my guy, John in Service. I promise you I'm stopping, hugging people who randomly look like you in Panera. We're not going to be allowed back in there. Thank you to John and everybody at Mohawk Honda continuing to help you now do the same thing that we've done. My pilot's in the driveway. Do it for yourself. Get the best vehicle you've ever had in your life. Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. And Johnstone Supply in Troy. Maybe you're listening to this podcast and it's dark out. It's like 5:30 and it's depressing and you know your house is getting a little colder and colder. Now you're wondering, can we make this warmer? How long has this been like this? Can I actually have some more efficiency going on, some warmer temperatures inside where I live? Where it can happen in Johnstone Supply in Troy. Call our guy Tom up. You've heard about him on the podcast before. Stop in at 6th Avenue and see that flow in person, man. If he hears about a Godzilla Media podcast, those guys are great supporters of us. Our stuff's all over the place in there, right above the urinal, too. So you want to see the Godzilla Media urinal sign. And then ask about your furnace. Ask about your house, how it can be warmer. Air filters, hell, buy a ladder like Levack did in there last time. Anything you need in the store, they want to make sure they're helping you. They've been doing it for decades in the Capital Region. How about since the 1940s? Family-owned and operated business. Our guy, George, has been taking care of people and their homes and the things that are most important in their lives for decades here in upstate New York. Now do the same for you. Call them today, no matter, again, where you are, 518-272-5922. 518-272-5922. Just ask, hey, is this right? I got a question about this. I heard Goz talking about you on the podcast. Hopefully this is Tom I'm on the phone with, or George, whoever it might be, Kev, James. They will answer the questions you need. It is Johnstone Supply in Troy. Now, let's get... There's a good chance you're listening to this on 11/11, November 11th, the day it was published. And remember growing up, they used to do 11/11, make a wish. 11/11, make a wish. I never heard that till I was a teenager. I want to do that now. On 11/11, I make a wish. Then I know what team is the best team in the NFL. We are halfway through the season, and I can't confidently tell you that's the Super Bowl favorite. That's the team that's going to lift the Lombardi Trophy. Now, there are times we see the matchups in the postseason where a really good team had a really bad matchup, whether it's weather, whether it's injury. That's what makes the NFL playoffs so much fun, the one-and-done scenarios in the professional level in comparison to Major League Baseball and the NBA with series. It's still one-and-done in the NFL. That's why it's so much fun. But now sitting here, think about the teams that are true contenders. The Buffalo Bills this past weekend entered as the Super Bowl favorites. Not to get there, but to win it for the first time in franchise history. They got beat by Jacksonville. Thanks a lot for ruining my Survivor pool. Some people who are in my pool are appreciating that I went down. Sorry, Omen, you and I went down together. But Buffalo gets beat by Jacksonville, and if you look at the Bills now overall for the season, they've only defeated one team with a winning record, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're barely above 500. What about the Dallas Cowboys? The Cowboys look like they finally pieced it together. The Cowboys looked like they were going to shut up Stephen A. Smith on Twitter, and they got waxed by the Denver Broncos, who looked like they weren't even the same team. This is post-Von Miller. How about the LA Rams? The Tennessee Titans don't have Derrick Henry, and the Titans go out and smash LA. Arizona has no DeAndre Hopkins, no Kyler Murray. It doesn't matter. They beat a San Francisco team, a divisional team. So we have to sit on Arizona here. Does Arizona have that vibe like the Philadelphia Eagles had a few seasons ago, where the Eagles embraced that underdog mentality and Long and other players were wearing the bark masks and everything else? Does Arizona have that Philly feel to you? Does Arizona have that Atlanta feel to you? That Falcon team that was up 28-3 in the Super Bowl? where people thought maybe not even until that moment that Atlanta wasn't the team to beat, but sure enough, they have one of the worst collapses in Super Bowl history. It feels as if whether it's tradition, whether it's region, whether it's lack of star power or anything else, that Arizona seems to be the top team in the league. But I just mentioned the Tennessee Titans too. Do you remember the Tennessee Titans had a double-digit lead against Kansas City and almost were a Super Bowl team a few seasons ago? Or that the Tennessee Titans were the team that picked off Tom Brady and ended his tenure in New England? The Titans continue to be underrated. And people have questions about both teams, and that's fine. Cliff Kingsbury, a coach that wasn't above 500 before this season, either at the college or professional level. Ryan Tannehill, has he ever been worth any of the contracts that he's been given in his NFL career? You could argue he hasn't. But with the NFL playoffs now expanded to 7 teams apiece out of the conference, more so than ever before, the bye week is so important. Oh yeah, by the way, maybe I forgot about a team down in Florida. My team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How will Tampa perform post-bye week against the Washington football team? A Tampa team that just got knocked off by the Saints, and the Saints lost to the Falcons, and you can feel the confusion just like that. Right now, mid-November, you told me I had to go to the Rivers Casino and place a bet for who I thought's the best team. Right now, it feels like the Arizona Cardinals. That's right, the Cardinals are the best team. Are we poised for a Cardinal-Titans Super Bowl? Well, that's right now. And by the time we talk again on Sunday, live from the Hideaway, we're back at the Hideaway at the Saratoga Lake Golf Club, 11:30 to 1. Maybe my answer will change. Maybe I'll say Tampa. Maybe I'll be back with the Bills. Maybe it'll be the Cowboys again. And I say all that because we're prepared for one of the all-time great runs here in the NFL. Who the hell is going to win the Super Bowl out in Los Angeles? Feels that same way in college football. Feels that same way in the NBA. And hell, the Braves were a team that was 1% chance to win the World Series. Sports fans, we deserve this. After 2020 was the worst sports year ever as a fan with no fans in the crowd and changed schedules and canceled games and everything else, no matter what sport's your favorite, we're getting exactly what we hoped for in this crazy NFL season. It's nice when you can put on the social media promotion for the podcast, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, just New York College Roundup. Because now in mid-November, so much is happening across the landscape of New York college sports. Here locally, the Shoes game between Union and RPI, our guys James Baker, Frank Rossi trying to petition for that game to get moved to primetime, and why not? It's a great rivalry when you compare it to other great rivalries in college football, even though it's a Division III level. So you've got that going on. You've got Siena, UAlbany, and Syracuse basketball all tipping off. UAlbany football gets their first win of the season. Syracuse football just one win away from bowl eligibility. So many great things. We'll sit with the football guys first. We already told you about RPI and Union. No disrespect to Hobart or Ithaca or Cortland or anything else. They've still got some big games on the way. But UAlbany getting that victory. You hope that sparks something for the future, although it's just one win. You go defeated in the CAA, that is so difficult to come back from in any type of level of any type of football, but especially a spot in UAlbany where you're recruiting the top talent at the FCS level and you're watching programs like James Madison and others jump to a new level. You've got this transition period where you got to make sure you're not bringing on too much water, if you know what I mean. You don't want to be at the bottom. When you see somebody leave your conference who's dominated, you don't want to continue to stay at the bottom. Small wins like that mean a lot. Syracuse. How many times, Syracuse fan, and I'm with you on this, that you have to watch a Louisville Cardinal running back run all over you. Malik Cunningham, look out. He's not Lamar Jackson, but his runs were going viral on the internet of how fast he was. And please, I see the spread. I can't handle another game-winning field goal by an opposing team to Syracuse. Garrett Schrader, make that beard longer. Love the orange. Come on. Don't break my heart one more time. Just get that 6th win and we can talk about the Pinstripe Bowl, the Fenway Bowl, or whatever it might be going here. Hell, the Military Bowl, the Armed Forces Bowl, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. A bowl in December is what you're hoping for. Not for the hoops side of it. Last week we gave you the preview for UAlbany and Siena and Syracuse. Let's start with the Saints first. They got smacked by St. Bonaventure. St. Bonaventure's really good. St. Bonaventure's in the top 25. This Bonnie's team is, although some people like I did thought they'd be poised to make a run in 2021, this is the team that's far better. Mark Schmidt and his squad are going to be a team that's potentially a second weekend team, a Sweet 16 team, and a competitive Atlantic 10. Siena is going to struggle this season. I don't like saying that because I like Coach Carmen. I like the program. But you go back-to-back regular season championships and can't push the ticket into March Madness, one because of COVID in 2020. It's hard at the mid-major level. Really difficult to have 9 new players after back-to-back regular season championships and continue to be a top team in that conference. Siena's got a long way to go. UAlbany has further to go. As we mentioned last week, UAlbany, Dwayne Killing's the new head coach, although his hiring is interesting because his staff got fired. Ed Marquette, even though he was on that staff, Wojciechowski, it's just the whole thing was strange. UAlbany's got a long way to go because this is a year of the recruits and figure out who's still with the program. The hiring comes in March. It's going to be 2 to 3 years before we see UAlbany again as a true contender and a top dog, pun intended, in the America East Conference. Great Dane fan, it's going to be lacrosse, football, then basketball. And the major sports you're talking about, the Great Danes competed in. Hell, you could toss in soccer or baseball or something else, but the sports traditionally UAlbany has been known for the last 15 to 20 years. It's going to take a long time for them to get back to that. And now Syracuse. Oh my God. It's been a while since we've talked about a Syracuse basketball team that's been fun to watch. Think about that. Like, you've had Syracuse teams make the run to the Final Four, the upset against Virginia. You've seen Syracuse teams make it to the second weekend because they get hot. But Orange fans know this in particular. Sometimes it's brutal to watch that team on offense. How many times have you talked about, seen it on social media more, Jim Boeheim, a legendary Hall of Fame coach, but just wondering, what the hell is he doing on offense? Can we move the ball? Can we get something going here? How about a pick? How about any... That is not an issue for this Syracuse team. You shooting the basketball like Jim Boeheim III and Buddy Boeheim and Cole Swider and Joseph Girard III. That team, thank goodness, is going to be fun to watch. I can't wait for Syracuse basketball to continue this way. Upstate New York fans, it's St. Bonaventure and Syracuse, the teams that are going to continue to be the college basketball headlines. That and this college basketball headline to keep in mind for the rest of this season, that's Amani Bates, Jalen Duran. The article recently published by Michael Rosenberg in Sports Illustrated. Doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're 18, 28, 58, the age is interesting for this article where Penny Hardaway, the head coach for the Memphis Tigers, says, the coach doesn't matter anymore. The coach doesn't have power anymore in college athletics. And the whole article talks about how Amani Bates, if you're not familiar with him, he has been called the next LeBron, the next Zion. He is one of these rare athletes that I feel like this still means something, that appeared on the cover of Sports Illustrated before he ever played a college minute. Put him in the same breath as LeBron and Andrew Wiggins or Jabari Parker, this phenom of an athlete who was on the way. Some have called him the young Kevin Durant. Jalen Duran, not that same type of player, developed throughout his teenage years to become a star recruit. But Bates, because of COVID-19 and the pursuit of a professional basketball dream, oh, and by the way, these guys, Bates played for a prep school that his dad founded. So it tells you about the focus of the next level. These guys picked Memphis not because they wanted to win a championship, not because they felt like it was the best fit for the college basketball landscape. They did it because they cared about themselves and they fully admit it. It's a me article. What gets me most prepared for the NBA? How can I find the biggest endorsements? How can Penny Hardaway and everyone else help me get to the next level? It's eye-opening to think about how the world of college athletics has changed. Has that always been the attitude we've embraced? It doesn't feel like it. It's been always about the community, the team, the school first. Can a championship get brought to that community? Do those players locally and regionally care about that school? That doesn't exist anymore. That attitude of, well, I care for the team on front, not in the back. Whether it's a Gen Z thing or whether this is just the world and I'm getting older and older. I look at Durant and Bates and wonder, yeah, Memphis has got talent. Yeah, Memphis can go deep. But it seems as if they don't care about whether or not they win the national championship. Does this go back to like a Ben Simmons type player? That whether or not LSU made the tournament, he was still going to be the number one pick. James Wiseman at Memphis. Whether or not he played the season for the Tigers, he still ended up being a top 2 pick in the draft. Maybe that's what college athletics, and in particular college basketball, is becoming. They understand their role, that it is truly the minor leagues. When you have other star athletes who say, I'd rather go to the G League. I'd rather turn pro. If I'm going to come to college, I'm just going to get endorsed and want that. This is the new acceptance, and it was hard to swallow as a fan of college athletics. And Amani Bates, I say he is the storyline of the college basketball season for this reason. Think about all those names we've already mentioned. LeBron James to Zion to Ben Simmons and Wiggins and Parker and everybody else. For the last decade plus, you've known who the number one pick was going to be really before they even stepped on the floor for that respective school. But because of an age issue with the NBA, Bates in the reclassification is so young, he can't go into the 2022 NBA draft. He either has to make a decision to come back and play for Memphis for a second season, go to the G League. That's about it. Think about what that means for college basketball. The best player is going to be there likely for 2 seasons. When was the last time that happened that a phenom from high school said, well, this is out of my control. I've got to be here. How good is he going to be? Can a 17-year-old who doesn't turn 18 until January really dominate the landscape of college basketball? Is he going to be called a bust because his body's just not ready to go? I am completely in on Memphis basketball. They were exciting the other night in their first victory of the season. That's what you want to look at. Yes, college basketball, sometimes the fans don't care until post-Super Bowl. I get that. But if you have one player, one team, something to look forward to for this college basketball season until the clock turns and it's February and there's no more football on, check out the Memphis Tigers. You probably thought the storyline for the college basketball season was not going to be Bates in Memphis, but instead something that now bothers me in sports. It's the retirement tours. It's the last season send-offs. It goes back to Jeter and Rivera. Hell, you could talk about Aaron Rodgers maybe doing this for Green Bay. And now Mike Krzyzewski has decided that this will be his final season. He's announced it. Some may think it's for recruiting purposes that John Shire, the former basketball player, interviewed him before at Providence back in 2016, is going to take over the program. Do we need that, though? Like the retirement tour, the send-off, the bon voyage? Music fans know this better than anybody else, how often this happens in retirement tour. Whether it's Ozzy Osbourne, Kiss, Motley Crue. Hell, sports fans know this from boxers. Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Ray Leonard. You can go back to football with Brett Favre and Marshawn Lynch. This, I'm done, please. Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, I'm thinking about it. Please, beg me to stay, come back. Why give a year in advance? Does the ego need to be stroked that much? Do you need to send off the video package and everything else? No one thinks of Mike Krzyzewski and thinks, you know what? He hasn't been honored enough. I know it's Krzyzewskiville. I know it's Coach K Court. I know he's considered one of the great college basketball coaches ever to do it. Hall of Fame. We need a few more accolades on his way out the door. Just retire. And it's not individual to Coach K. You feel the marketing campaign. That's what's happened in 2021. That everything gets twisted into how to make more money on the way out the door. There's this dirtiness to it. This, maybe I'll come back, maybe, but I probably won't. So enjoy how great I am for the end of it. Now, it's the pro wrestling fan in me, possibly, that I've seen this happen so often with The Undertaker, and now rumors are starting back that The Undertaker might come back to this WrestleMania. But the retirement tours don't have to happen anymore. Seriously, talk to your friends, talk to your family members, people who follow sports. Has anybody ever said, oh, they better give him a retirement tour? They better honor him in the last season of his career. It's great if you're an athlete. It's great if you're a coach. Like we said, the stroking of the ego. Tell me how great I am one more time before I have to go do something else. It's not needed anymore. You've got social media. Just go look at your mentions if you want. Go on YouTube and watch some championship victories. It's the best when they say, I don't want it to be a distraction. Yes, you do. Any athlete who says, I don't want it to be a distraction when they've announced their retirement is lying. When Coach K is asked by Holly Rowe at the end of the post-game show from Madison Square Garden how did it feel to go through these final moments, and Coach K smiled and said, well, you know, it's going to be... I don't even want to hear it. I don't even want to hear the answer from Coach K. You've done this to yourself, this idea of pressure to try to win a championship in the final season. This idea of, can you believe it's the last time? Yeah, I can believe it because I told myself it was going to be the last time. Enough with the retirement tours in sports. I don't know who gets blamed for it. Rivera, Jeter, Kobe, Coach K. Roy Williams just left. Some guys just don't show up to work anymore. Hell, was it Vontae Davis when I was at that Bills game who just quit during the game? If there's one resolution, if there's one hope I can have that sports trends will end, it is the retirement tour. Please, no more of these. From when I was a kid, from playing video games to just following sports and learning more about it, the awards mattered to me. An MVP, a Rookie of the Year, a Sixth Man, a Cy Young, all the awards, especially when you play video games as a kid. It's a fun goal to chase after with that team you're playing with, whether it's the MVP, the championships, all that stuff. It's storylines within the game that you're playing, and that's what intrigues me about sports, how different it can be. And now as a professional, I get to vote on some of these things, and it's really cool for me because I get to have healthy discussions with fans of similar sports about why a certain player or coach, a team deserves the accolades they get at the end of a season. But of any sport, the worst when it comes to postseason awards, when the season's over, and what players deserve the accolades and how it's thought about, is Major League Baseball. Now, the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame discussion, go back to a summer podcast where we talked about how dumb it is that a player like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are not in the Hall of Fame, and they've never been suspended. But a player like, and I always go to Craig Biggio, but I won't go to Craig Biggio anymore, Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame over Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. It just makes zero sense. And now the same goes for postseason awards. Now, I'm not talking about the World Series MVP. I'm talking about 162 ends. And the baseball and writers decide these guys are the ones who should be rewarded. It starts at Manager of the Year. Yankee fans, here's something you can get on. How the hell has Aaron Boone never won Manager of the Year? Now, I know Boone has not got to the World Series or won a championship and everything else, but go back to the seasons where he's managed this Yankee roster. Injury after injury, in that season, Rocco Baldelli won. Why? Because he was, what? Boone was a Yankee manager? Didn't deserve enough credit. Now this season, Brian Snitker leads the Atlanta Braves from a team that's basically a 500 team all the way to the postseason, eventually wins the championship, not even nominated for Manager of the Year. And that would seem like it'd be enough for the National League. How about the American League? Here's something a Yankee and Red Sox fan can agree with because it's so ridiculous. You're telling me Alex Cora was not the difference for the Boston Red Sox this season as a manager? The cheating scandal and everything else behind it, if you thought that was a bad storyline, of course it was. But there is no argument that a guy like this manager for the Mariners, who didn't make the postseason, did a better job than Alex Cora. A miss by the baseball writers there. How about the MVP award? Now, Shohei Ohtani is going to win the award in the American League. I don't even want to waste my breath doing a discussion on the American League. But that's been decided since what? June? July? Again, back to our summer podcast. If you were just going to give him the award, give him the award. Who cares about wins and losses, right? Who cares about that stuff when it comes to baseball? Only sports that should matter care about wins and losses. That sounds like a really profound statement. It's actually not that big. Wins and losses matter in sports. But Ohtani and the Angels stink, but you already decided back in the summer he's getting it. Babe Ruth numbers, great. How about the Angels make the postseason? Which, speaking of the postseason, did you see the National League MVP candidates? Juan Soto from the Washington Nationals, Fernando Tatis Jr., we gave that out in the preseason for the Padres, and Bryce Harper for the Philadelphia Phillies. All really good players. You notice the one theme there? None of them made the postseason. How? How can you sit here and tell me that the most valuable players for these teams are not playoff teams? If you want to rename the award one of the classic debates in sports, most outstanding versus most valuable, we can have a different discussion. That's fine. But how about Freddie Freeman? Go look at his numbers. Top 10 in hits, top 10 on base percentage, top 10 in stats. Go through the National League stats. I could run through the numbers. It doesn't matter for Freddie Freeman. It should be as simple as that. His team, his impact for the squad got them to the postseason. You're talking about three guys who set around 500 for their teams. If baseball is just going to look at numbers and stats and WAR, hell, give it to Mike Trout again. Baseball people so badly just want to give it to Trout every single year. Just give it to Trout in both leagues. How about that? They just don't even matter when it comes to this. You know what's going to happen to the Cy Young? Robbie Ray's probably going to win it. For the Blue Jays, didn't make the postseason. Think about that for a second. We're talking about the best pitchers and the best hitters, and none of these guys are being represented on the biggest stage. Baseball writers are rewarding the best, even though the best is not seen in the most important games of the year. Baseball writers need to rethink the ways in which they vote for the best in the league. Value not outstanding, value. And consistently, Major League Baseball writers get it wrong. They do not get the benefit of the doubt. And we talked about legacies. We talked about storylines. We talked about things that matter the most when it comes to Major League Baseball. Maybe one day the writers will figure out when you reward mediocrity, when you reward average, that's what people are going to think about your product. What is not average, what is not mediocre is UFC 268, another great show. Gaethje Chandler, a battle. Rose wins their fight. Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington 2. Now, Usman, pound for pound, the best UFC fighter. It is Kamaru Usman. The question now is who's going to fight next, right? That's always the fun thing. We did this with Tyson Fury. We do this to every fighter who's a professional. Who is he going to fight next? Shoulders go right up in the air and shrug. Jorge Masvidal, Leon Edwards, Conor McGregor, Israel Adesanya. It's a credit, actually, to Kamaru Usman that whoever he fights next will get the rub because of how good he is now. It's one of the great things for the sports that if you have somebody who steps into the ring you may not be familiar with as much, this goes back to the days of Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor in his most recent fights where he's getting beat. That's what's actually best for the sport, is that if you can create new stars by beating the old stars, you're set for years to come. That might be the situation with Kamaru Usman. UFC 268, fun. WWE releases. I would dive into that and some new changes across the roster. I'll leave that to my guys over at White Heat. Those guys did a great job with that. But the best thing going on right now in professional wrestling, and you can go through the history of the last 5, 10, 15 years. I almost wish this was longer, a slower burn. Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk. Please, I posted this on social media. Go to Players Tribune and type in Eddie Kingston. Find the article. Getting some nice feedback on this even from non-pro wrestling fans. If you need something to be inspired by today, Eddie Kingston tells his story. And this is, like social media has pointed out to me, 10 years ago, Cena versus Punk. The corporate guy, the chosen one, the people, the business they want to see succeed, and the person who's the underdog who never was in that role. It was Cena Punk, and it turned into the greatest match. I'll say this. The best match of the last 25 years in professional wrestling, Punk and Cena. Now in 2021, Punk takes on the role of the corporate chosen golden boy. And Eddie Kingston, the kid from the streets who never had a chance. Good guy, bad guy, underdog versus favorite. And both of these guys can talk with the best of them. With Eddie Kingston telling the story of how he's broken, almost quit wrestling with CM Punk, getting probably the biggest contract he's ever gotten in his life from Tony Khan. AEW Full Gear. That is how you promote a show. I was about Full Gear. I know there's some good matches on the way. That match alone, Punk and Eddie Kingston on the promo work alone. Go to YouTube and watch this stuff. You're going to take a step back and think, ooh, this isn't scripted. This isn't WWE. This isn't what I'm used to. Kingston and Punk. Legacy stuff going on right now between those two. And I hope this isn't where that rivalry ends. It's pick time. Predictions for the weekend wagers. We're still rolling with football here. Both NFL and college picks are weekend wagers. Last week, how about this? 2 and 2 and 2. That's right. A perfect 500 week for me. What does that mean? Where does my record stand on the season? College 20 and 25, NFL 19 and 16, and unlike last week where I got my math wrong, that puts us at the season at 39 and 41. 39 and 41. Before we get our picks, Northeastern Insurance makes these picks possible. Jared Lozier, 2022, you're starting to plan, you're starting to finance, you're trying to figure out what and which way you want to make sure your money's saved. Jared Lozier is going to help you do it. Northeastern Insurance, email him today, jaredl@nemail.com. Jared's one of our pals here in the Capital Region. He's been helping out great businesses and great people. Northeastern Insurance, make sure you've got them on your side. And maybe you're going to hit it big on this parlay this week. You want to figure out the right way to use your money. And Jared, jaredl@nemail.com. And his number, 518-956-3753. 518-956-3753. Here's what we're going to do on our YouTube side. We're going to leave Jared's picture up. Look at this man. Look at his face. Do you see him? This man has the courage to step up and say, I want to sponsor Goz's picks. I want to be a part of Godzilla Media. Look at that face. Go to our YouTube site. If you see this man in the capital region, you buy this man a shot of tequila and say thank you for doing what you do. Call him if you win money. Give you the number again, 518-956-3753. Email him, big bold letters. Goz's picks won me money. Thank you, Jared. JAREDL@nemail.com. All right, let's give you these picks. 4 in college, 4 in the NFL. I'll lead off with the pick I like the most in college this week. Apologies to my guy DJ, who's a big Notre Dame fan, but I like the Virginia Cavaliers as my favorite play this week. Virginia, night game at home. Armstrong, their quarterback. Here's a little inside scoop for you about the Virginia quarterback. Virginia's SIDs and public relations people are reaching out to voters to give this guy some more love for postseason awards. No one's done that in about 5 years since Christian McCaffrey. Virginia really wants this to be their game. Armstrong, they're going to sling the ball all over the place. 5.5 is a weird number. It's like 4, 5, and 12 are the numbers that are usually like, huh? What's going on in that game? Virginia can keep it within 3. Virginia can make an even fun play. Money line, upset, storm the field. Notre Dame might be in trouble in this game. I like Virginia for that play. Also, another ACC game. Give me the under in Clemson, UConn. Okay, so Clemson is a 40.5 point favorite against UConn. How the hell are they going to get to 49.5? Clemson's offense is terrible. I don't know who's playing quarterback. They've run through 2 different quarterbacks this season. UConn is bad. They're very, very bad, but not as bad as we thought they'd be. So I think that's a compliment to the Huskies. So 49.5 is the number I have. They're favored by 40.5. So you're telling me the final score is going to be what? 56 nothing? UConn's going to score? So 42-7 still doesn't hit the over? I like the under in Clemson, UConn in that game. I like the over, another ACC game here. I like the over in Boston College in their matchup. Now, maybe I like BC a little bit more because they cashed for us last week, but I'll give love to the Eagles in this game. I like the over in Georgia Tech, Boston College. Georgia Tech covered last week against Miami, and now coming back, BC has their quarterback scheduled to play with this taping. He is scheduled to play, and if now that quarterback was healthy for the remainder of the season, if he did get hurt early on, we've had a whole different discussion about Boston College football this season. And no way Boston College can continue to have these consecutive under. It's going to break. It's the roulette table. It can't keep hitting black on Boston College unders. Boston College is the play there. I feel really good about those 3 picks. I will toss one more for you, though. Arkansas, LSU. Everyone will watch the Tigers almost take down Alabama last week. It's almost one of those classic correction games. Casual college football wagers will hear, oh, LSU almost beat Alabama. I should bet on LSU at night in Death Valley. They might forget about the storylines involving how they couldn't run the football this season. Arkansas can, and it gives me an opportunity to do my Sam Hartman impression. Turn on that new boat! Give me the Hogs, baby. -2.5 against LSU. So those are my picks. Again, one more time in college. Over Boston College, Georgia Tech, 53.5. Under Clemson, UConn, 49.5. 5.5, Virginia, take the points of the Cavaliers, and then I will take the Arkansas Razorbacks against LSU. All right, let's move on to the NFL. These are going to feel like very on-brand picks for me. So teams that have done well for me this season, I did stay away from this game. I talked myself out of it. I've gone constantly against the Patriots this season. I almost took the Browns. I almost took Cleveland. I'm going to stay away from that game, though. By Sunday for our Hideaway show, Levack and I are, by the way, back at the Hideaway, 11:30 to 1 o'clock, hanging with you for Bills-Jets. I might flip my Browns pick, so just be listening to that show because I have a little different feeling on that. I'm doubling down on one game. It's allowed. It's my podcast. I'll do what I want. I like Tampa coming off a bye week, coming off a loss to take on the Washington football team. You give me Bruce Arians. You give me Tom Brady. Everybody against that Washington football team. 9.5 is the number I have currently. Give me the Bucs. Blowout fashion. However, I'm doubling down, which means I'm taking the over as well in that game. Don't forget, Tampa and Washington played in last year's postseason, and that was the Taylor Heineke game. Heineke, all of a sudden earlier around, like, oh my God, is Heineke going to beat Tampa? Is this upset going to happen? Fantasy football projection-wise, I've seen numbers as high as 20 points projected for a banged-up secondary for Heineke. I know I played that over in a Washington-Denver game this past month. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me again. Give me the over in Tampa, Washington, and I'll take the Buccaneers with the points as 2 of my plays in one game. The other game I like, coming out of the NFL this week, on brand, give me the Titans. -2.5 against New Orleans at home. I'm winning with the Titans. I'm doing it. All right, Tennessee. Come on, keep making me look smart, man. My guy Tom over at Johnstone Supply in Troy probably loves this pick right now. The number doesn't make sense. New Orleans looks bad. They don't know who's playing quarterback. I'll keep betting against the Saints. And again, as a Buccaneer fan, maybe it feels like a little bit of a heart pick there. But I will bet against the Saints. Give me the Titans. Continue to play great football in that matchup. So again, Titans -2.5 in that one. And this last one I'm struggling with. I want to go against Kansas City. I've got Mahomes on a lot of my fantasy teams. Kansas City beats Green Bay. But that game is not so much about Kansas City as it is about how bad Jordan Love played. And the Seattle matchup with no point right now, if we know if it's Rodgers, we think it's going to be Wilson. I'm going against the Chiefs. Levack, you'll love this pick. I like your Raiders with a bounce back after the loss to the New York Giants. They're a 2.5-point dog. And if you've seen the primetime games involving the Vegas Raiders, they performed well in prime time. Vegas, money line. How about that play? The Raiders take down the Chiefs and swing the momentum in the AFC West. So one more time, a review from NFL picks. 2 plays in the Tampa-Washington game. Bucks with the points off the bye week, looking to have some revenge after the loss of the Saints, and the over 51.5. Brady, especially in that first half. If you want, even play that first half over. We'll see how that moves according to those guys coming out of that break. Also, give me the Raiders on a primetime game, and give me the Titans. That's it. Those are the picks. Looking forward to seeing everybody at the Hideaway. We are back, Levack and Goz, Sunday 11:30 to 1 o'clock, live on the Godzilla Media YouTube page, Techie's Fire and Water Restoration, Hideaway's Facebook, and we're hanging until 2:30 for Jets, Bills, giving away great prizes and more. Catch you next week.